All right, folks, so this is our Taiwan board. I put it on hold for a while because I just can't grasp it. I just can't figure it out right now. So each year I make a board for Bosom Buddies tennis tournament for them to auction off. This year I'm going to be making a serving tray out of black walnut and pink epoxy pigment. I have a new mold that I got. I'm going to be using that, and we'll get the project rolling. I'll keep you up to date as to how it's going. So I had just bought this mold, and it's supposed to be 24 inches. And when I put it on here, it's actually less than 24 inches, which doesn't surprise me because they're going to save how much. Anyway, I digress. Let's go with 23 3/4. Okay, so we're going to take our board here. Going to cut it 23 3/4 inches, which I'll try and set up here. It's still crowded on the table here, but I think we're going to be okay. We're in a little bit of a rush to get this board done. This is for the Bosom Buddies auction. So let's go ahead and measure this out. "23 3/4 inches. Take me right to there. That should fit. And then we're going to make a cut down the center of the board. There's just not a lot of variation in that thing, is there? Wonder if I should go with this end. Thing's almost as wide as the board. Got a little bit of extra there. Our widest spot here is about almost 11 inches, and this thing's probably 12 inches wide, or a little less, and it is. So there's like virtually, if we went it with this end, there would be virtually no epoxy. Now just a little bit there to maybe there and there. So 11 inches, there'd be about 1 inch of epoxy. I'm good with that. At least we have a little bit of variation there. So I'm going to take 23 3/4 inches from this end. I'm going to cut that off. It's hard to square up to make it square when you have a rough edge here. So we'll do our best, and then we're going to cut it right down the center here. All right, we'll be right back. All right, so we got our two boards here. It should fit. One pretty skinny river in there, isn't it? All about saving epoxy, but we need a little bit more space, so I'm going to take a little bit off of this side over here. That kind of looks good there, doesn't it? A little nub out of there, whatever's going on there, I don't know. I'm going to take about an inch off over here. All right, and we got to peel off the bark. Normally not too big a deal. Splitting this bark off is kind of like, sounds like I'm cracking blue claw crabs. So what we're looking for is stuff like this, these nubs here, variation, you know, just to give it some pizzazz. You can, when I sand this, I can sand it a little more so that more of the edge is showing. The problem is, like, if I wanted to say, oh, I want to make a nice dip here, well, I can make the dip here, no problem. The problem is this transition from the soft bark or softwood to the harder wood, the transition is almost straight. So if you make a dip here and you have a straight line here, it looks like you made a dip and it wasn't the actual grain. If the wood actually came down like this and went up like this, then this wood would do the same thing. So you can do it a little, you just can't do it a lot. Like here, I can sand this down because this is almost horizontal and we want it to look like bark. So we can come in a little, as long as we come the whole way to right here. And then we come in a little here. So I'll show you how we do that here with our sander. Okay, we'll take our first board, we'll start sanding this wood off, or this bark off, till we get down to regular wood. Try and get you a little bit closer for that. Wow, so I just missed a whole bunch of this. All right, so what we did is we went over, we sanded this board to get all the bark off of it. See if I can back out here a little. One of the things we did is we came in closer here to this edge and gave this a little bit of more of a round, came in here. Now, ideally what should happen is it should stay the same color, white, at the same thickness all the way around here. And you'll see we got a lot more thickness here, which means we didn't cut off here, but we did cut off here. Only a true arborist is really going to notice that. What everybody else is going to notice is the wave, the contour of it. So that's important to do. I have a little chainsaw cut here, but hopefully what happened was this tree fell and then somebody cut it up. But at some point, the origination of this board came from a guy in the woods with a chainsaw. So I have no problem leaving that in there. You can see it from the bottom and you'll see a little bit from the side, but it's part of the character and the life of the wood. It's journey to get to where it's going to be in someone's kitchen. So this part right here, these are chainsaw cuts. So they were getting down to the end of the board and they have these chainsaw cuts, but that's not going to be an issue because we're going to sand down past that. So we have this one all set. Now this one over here is a little different. This one, we have just one nub right there. That's the only character we have in it. This is about the same thickness, this white. If I were to cut into here, then this white's going to get a lot thinner and it's not going to look good. We have to make sure we don't cut that off. There is a little nub right here. We can actually accentuate that a little bit, so that'll give it a little bit more character. And then down here, we might come in just a little bit. And then back here, this is all pretty much standard. If we come in here a little bit just to accentuate this dip, I think it'll give us a little more character without making it look fake. So now we're going to go over and sand this board. I marked it on the other side with X's. Hard to see there, but marked it with X's where not to sand. I am going to have to sand, the black off, but I don't want to sand down anything in these spots. And since I'm sanding like this, I want to be able to see where those things are on the other side. So that's what we'll do now. All right, so let's take a couple measurements and see if we can figure out how much epoxy we need. We take the length times the width, average width, times the depth. We add those together and come up with 99 cubic inches in here. Okay, we want to convert cubic inches to fluid ounces, so we know by checking with AI that fluid ounces are 1 fluid ounce equals 0.5, or 1 cubic inch equals 0.55 fluid ounces. So we took our 99 inches and times that times 0.55 and came out with 48 fluid ounces. So that's what we're going for, 48 fluid ounces. If I look on here to see, that is 32 fluid ounces. So unfortunately this isn't big enough. This one looks big enough. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, we got it here. So we're going to use this one. Let me dump this out. That's going to make things a lot easier. That's going to make things a lot easier. Now we only have to mix up 1 bucket. Why is that so important? I'll tell you in just a minute. If we take our pigmented powder and we don't use the same exact amount in both of these, then one side could be darker than the other side, unless you mix them up in a bigger container and you only have 1 container, then everything's going to be the same. So what we're going to start out with is, if we need 48 fluid ounces, we are going to make, let's go with half of it, right? 24 and 24 is 48. So we're going to start out by making 24 fluid ounces of this. And to do that, we get our epoxy somewhere. Part A epoxy. 2 parts of part A, 1 part of part B. So if we're making 24 fluid ounces, we divide that by 3. That would be 8, and 8 is 16, 6. Okay, so 8 fluid ounces. Part A is, we use 2 parts of part A, so 8 and 8 is 16 ounces. So we're going to put 16 ounces of our epoxy here in here. I think I went over just a little. You see here. Oh, just a little bit I went over. So we're going to pour some back in here if we can without making a total mess. Take a look at it again. And we're a little short, which is fine. Set it down on the level table and come back up to 16. Who remembers what the name of it when you look in the beaker or in your measuring cup in chemistry class? There's a top of the line and then there's a bottom of the line, and you're supposed to measure from the bottom of the line. In here, in a beaker, in a container that big, they don't have it, but in skinnier containers they do. I just can't remember the name of it. Anybody else know the name? If you know the name, without looking in AI, then put it in there for me. All right, so now we're going to part B, and we need 1 part of part B. And we know in our 24 ounce setup, 1 part of part B is going to be 8 ounces, and it's going to bring this up to 24 ounces. All right, so here's our first batch that we're going to mix up and then put in there. You can see how cloudy it looks. That's because we haven't mixed it. When we mix it, it should be perfectly clear. All right, so I'm gonna grab me a little mixing paddle here and start mixing this up. Here we go. Mix and mix and mix. You know our rule of thumb for mixing. You mix, 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 and mix. And when you're done mixing, you mix some more. So we're scraping the sides because we know that some of our epoxy, which we put in first, is stuck to the sides. And if we don't get that off, it'll never mix with the other epoxy. And the same thing goes for the B. When we put the B in around the top, there's B on the walls and of the container. And if we don't mix that up, then it will never get the same. So we're stirring it up here. We are going to do a lot of mixing after we get the pigment in the big container. But we definitely want to get a nice mix going here. And if you can see, it's cleared up. That means that we're getting a mix now. If I were to really scrape these sides, all of a sudden I see that wavy stuff in there again because I'm getting epoxy from the sides that wasn't mixed. That's why it's always good to mix in a different container than your final container. That way you're not, anything that's still stuck on the walls, it just makes it easier to mix it, to make sure you got a 100% mix. The worst thing you can do on this epoxy stuff is mix epoxy and don't mix it all enough, and then it won't harden and the whole project is ruined. Really, it's ruined. I mean, it's not worth trying to salvage by scraping epoxy off or anything like that. You just take it over to the trash can and dump it. And you know, the cost of the epoxy and the cost of the wood and your time is valuable, especially at my age. All right, we're looking good there. I'm going to pour it in to our container and let that sit there for a minute and drain out. We're going to get our part A again, and we're going to make the same thing we just made. 24 and 24 is 48 ounces, so we're going to have 48 ounces when we get done here. I don't know what that is there. I mean, that's epoxy obviously, but I don't know if it was mixed or not, so we're taking that off. Pink, how much pink do we put in? Do we make it translucent so you can see down through it? Or do we make it nice and thick so it has a nice swirl to it? I think nice and thick so it has a nice swirl to it. That's what I say. All right, we let that drain out. Now we're going to go back here and we're going to put 2 parts of part A, which will bring us to 8 and 8, 16 ounces. So going up from 12, 14, 16 ounces. We are done with A. Put it on the left so we know that that container is the one that's open. B, same thing goes for that. Now we come back over here to this one. Oh, we didn't put the other one in yet, did we? Jeez, I almost forgot that. I almost forgot the B. That would have really messed things up. It would have ruined the project. So let's get our B in there before we go any further. Bring it up to 24 ounces. I was looking in there, I'm like, man, that looks awful clear. And it was awful clear because there wasn't any B in there. See how cloudy we are again? Should I be wearing rubber gloves? I bet I should. Let's put some rubber gloves on. Should I be wearing eye protection? You betcha. Don't want to splash any of this in my eye. And I might see the tennis ball when I hit it. That's a joke. All right. Put on our one-time temporary use gloves. There we go. Let's start mixing. Try and do this over top of here again so you can see the it change from opaque to clear. Scraping sides again. He thinks we have enough epoxy to do this job. I hope we have enough. I hope we have enough. So I have my board here. This lifts this whole thing up. And what it really does, which is good, is gives me a way to clamp the wood down so the wood doesn't float, because when you pour that epoxy in there, the wood's going to want to float. I have that wood there. Nice. 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 So there is one problem. I don't think that I accounted. Look at the way that's hanging down there. It's not good. We might want to prop that up a little bit on the sides here. That's a little bit too big. Two of these are pretty good. We will get something else to put in between there. I kind of always like playing cards, but that's not it. All right, let's use some shims. All we're trying to do is get these sides up a little so that they're not sagging so much. Otherwise, you just use a lot more epoxy. So we're going to take these, put them right here like this. This should give us the extra support we need. Hopefully. Not sideways. It's a good length. There we go. I feel much better. How about you guys? Yeah, it's not sagging now. So we'll come over here and do the same thing over here. So we'll put this on here. Looks good. On here. That's a little wonky. Take a couple of shims here. Shim this front up just a tiny bit. I think we're going to need a lot. That's good. That's good. Okay, looking good there. Everything's good. Let's go back over to our epoxy, which is drained out. Now, unfortunately, we have to throw away this container because and we take our epoxy here and we continue to mix it together. Sure hope we have enough. seemed like a lot of space there. Ugh. This is sketchy here. Do you trust my calculations? I don't. All right, we're going for it. You gotta be confident in yourself. All right. How much should we put in? We don't have enough. You will have to come back and estimate what we have. We're a little lucky because it's not transparent. That's where you really have to worry about having the right amount. If you were to make two different transparencies together. So I'm gonna go in here with 1/8 of a teaspoon. You guys see what I'm doing? Mixing cocaine. All right, here's one. The reason I'm not just making a bigger one is because this one fits in the opening of this thing. Here's 2. 3. One more. 4. Why is it so important that I actually measure? Because if I have to get more, let's say I have to get some more, I'm going to have to do some calculations. I had 4. Can you remind me? I had 4. 4 of them I added in here. Now we're going to mix it up. You'll see this. This looks pretty cool how it mixes up. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Cool. Looks very pink. So you pour in the center, everything looks great until it all seeps into the sides. Right now I'm like, oh, we got tons. But I don't know that we have tons once it seeps into the side. So if I had to do it again, I would add a little bit more. Normally, not critical. We got a ton of board here. We're gonna have to sand down, plane down a bunch of board anyway. But the issue at hand it's a little red, doesn't it? Doesn't exactly look pink. It's supposed to. We'll hit this with a little bit of heat to pop some of the bubbles. Yeah, that looks much better. All right. That looks good. So we'll let that sit. All right, so here we are. We're back taking a look. Going to take our little stirring stick here, and we're going to just move this around. Still very soft, so no issues there. It's interesting that I still got, looks like it might have went down just a little. So does anybody know why it's important that it doesn't go down that much more? Obviously the board's thick enough, so there's enough board there to sand down. The issue is this nub here is on the surface, if you remember. And so when we sand that down, we're going to start to lose our nub. So we definitely don't want it to go down any further than this. Hopefully it won't. And then as it starts to harden up, this design is going to be critical for whatever way we end up doing it. I mean, you really want it abstract, but you want it somewhat consistent. So if I were to stir it all up like this, try and get it all basically doing the same thing, and then I come and I go like this. That's good. That looks really good right there. So it'd be great if I could keep it like that, but unfortunately I don't think. I think when I come back it'll start to separate because it's not ready yet. So I'm getting a little bit of air in it, stirring it so aggressively, so pop those air bubbles out. Of course, they're not going to look good, and they're not going to look good when they come to the surface and pop. So next time I do this, I'm going to have to be a little less aggressive. That looks kind of cool too. All right, we'll be back to check on it later. All right, so we're back down here. We're probably on 5 hours now. And it has kind of a cool little pattern to it, but not really what I'm looking for. So we're going to see what it looks like. Still very loose. We'll see what it looks like when we come back. That looks kind of cool. Dave with Life After the Top Frog. We're here with the Bosom Buddies serving tray, and we have it planed down to the thickness that we want it at. And now we're going to go ahead and just sand this down. We're at 180 right now. We're going to go down to 220. Then we're going to round off our edges. I'll show you how we do that. We will take something similar to this. I have a whole bunch of different ones. And this goes on the edge like this. And then we run it around our router plane. It sits in there like that. And our router plane, I'll show you the bit we use. This is the bit we use, and basically that's on the router table. And if you can see that, it follows, this wheel follows that circle, and by following this the wheel following the circle, it just cuts out everything it can, so that we get a nice rounded corner. We're going to do that on all 4 corners, and then we are going to use our quarter rounding over bit. Let me find that one. Here we go. Something similar to this. Same process. We'll go around the side, and that will cut out a nice rounded edge along the top by following the plane of this. So obviously this has to be straight in order for this to work right. But I think it's straight. So we'll get to work. All right, it's finish day on the Bosom Buddies serving tray. We're going to go ahead and put the handles on and the feet on it, and needs another day or 2 to dry, and it'll be good to go. Sorry guys, I missed putting the finish on. What I put on this board was Rubio Monocoat. It's a 2-part finish that you mix together, and it really brings out the grain of the wood. But if you want to use it, it's called Rubio Monocoat. Very expensive, yet very little. You need very little to complete this job. All right, these are our feet. So we can go ahead and drill our pilot hose for our feet. Now the other thing we have to worry about is the screws being too long. Nice as those screws bury in there. And they could be just a little bit long, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and this. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but we're going to grind it down, just make it a little bit smaller. Each of the screws. That's still hot. I'll let that cool down a little. It looks like it's levitating off of the table slightly. If the feet were out here and you could see the feet, then it would look like it was sitting on feet. Now it's just going to look like it's floating. I hope you enjoyed the video of the making of the Bosom Buddies serving tray. You can see more videos like this on my YouTube channel, Life After the Top Frog. Please check it out, and if you like what you see, subscribe and leave comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.